before we get to that, I want to say a few words about the next last session before lunch, which will take about half an hour. The experts from Meta, Ampere, STORDIS, and Circle B, we will have 4 area experts and an able moderator to talk about building cloud hardware's resilient future. They will be talking about European sovereign cloud, European resilient cloud for the future, and the Open Compute project. So I think this will be very insightful, and these chairs behind me will be filled by them in a few minutes. For lunch, you know the saying, there's no free lunch, right? But at CloudFest, fortunately, thanks to our friends at Blackwall, there's free lunch, actually. And where you're supposed to get your lunch, you will see on your badges. If your badge says something else, that chances are you will get your lunch at the train station next to the hotels. But please only do that if that says particularly get your lunch at that venue. Otherwise, you will find out which restaurant you're supposed to go, and you can just walk there. Okay? So the last half an hour before lunch, please allow me to introduce and come up to the stage Raúl to moderate the session with our 4 panelists. Thank you. Give it up for them.
Thank you.
Thank you all. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to CloudFest, and welcome to our panel. So we're going to discuss about how we build cloud hardware resilient future. I mean, how we use open technologies in Europe. And you will excuse me. I will use heavily my notes here. I want to be as blunt as possible about it. Because we have a great discussion ready for you guys with great panelists here. So I want to go from the first seat to the end one. So we have here Ola Tørudbakken with Meta. So maybe Ola, you can introduce yourself.
Sure, happy to do so, Raúl. So first of all, thanks a lot for the invite here and attending the conference. It's the first CloudFest I'm attending. So my name is Ola Tørudbakken. I work as part of Meta's infrastructure division, primarily working on AI systems and our large-scale AI clusters.
And we have Jeff Wittich here with Meta. With Ampere. Sorry about that, Jeff. So maybe Jeff, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeff Wittich, I'm the Chief Product Officer at Ampere. I'm also a OCP Advisory Board member, so work really closely with Open Compute. Ampere is a company building energy-efficient CPUs for the cloud and for AI. So building out solutions that are incredibly easy to deploy, very efficient, very scalable, as we see the world really embrace AI inference and need to build those services at scale. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Jeff. And then we have Jason Maselino with Circle B and with the TORUS Group. So maybe we can do a quick introduction, Jason.
Sure, certainly. So I'm Jason Maselino. I am the General Manager of Circle B. Circle B is part of TORUS Group. It's a group of technology companies which are helping our customers to be able to leverage open hardware technologies. So super excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. I don't want to forget about Łukasz with STORDIS here. So maybe you can introduce yourself, Łukasz.
Of course, thank you. Also great to be here. So hello, everyone. My name is Łukasz Łukowski, and simply we are taking care about the networking piece of those old gentlemen. So working at STORDIS as a Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, we are dealing with tier 1 networking hardware providers like the EdgeCore Network, Celestica, UFI, but we are powering that with our local support. Company based here in Germany. We have also offices in Poland, in UK. But if you are looking for enterprise-grade type of the network, which is still open, flexible, with 24/7 support and all the services, just call us. Thank you.
Great stuff. So you can see that we have a great representation of the panels and the industries and the companies that they represent. coming from Meta, focusing heavily on AI, efficiency in computing with Ampere, and solutions and networking coming from Circle B and with STORDIS. So I want to start this discussion. I think that we are going great in time. I want to ask you a question to all of you guys, and you guys can go in order. But how do you see the evolution of the adoption of open technologies here in Europe? And whoever wants, you can pick it up. I'm happy to do that round.
I mean, I can jump in there. I think that I think having open platforms, big horizontal platforms that can scale out across the market, I think it's incredibly valuable, especially in Europe. If you look at the way that compute has developed over the last couple of decades, it's always been about the interaction across the ecosystem, innovation from a lot of different players, but enough standardization that allows for easy adoption of these technologies. And I think that given how vibrant the market is here in Europe and the changes in the AI landscape over the last couple of years, I think that there's a great opportunity to build that open horizontal ecosystem the same way that we all did this with the cloud. I think there's a great opportunity to do this with AI, and in fact, I think it's not only an opportunity, but I think it's actually an imperative for us to do this, because big vertical solutions that are proprietary aren't going to be the optimal solutions in this market or in any market. And I think what open compute's doing in Europe is very pivotal to that.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
And adding on top, so open networking was, let's say, the last which being disaggregated puzzle in that whole ecosystem. So the story which we know well from the server part, no one is pushing you to use any specific software and so on. You are good with Linux, you are good with Linux. You wanted to go with Windows, you are free to go. So the same also happened at a few years with the networking, and it is really driven under the Open Compute project. There is a lot of designs which simply you can just go and read, and yes, they are fully open. So you can choose the variety of the hardware, the software of your Go, and this is really something which we see is getting a lot of momentum. We are with open networking from 2014, and the beginning maybe was not so fast as it is today. But today, it's not like a discussion about some fancy technology. It is just, I would say, like a daily discussion, daily business, daily deployments, daily support.
How's Circle B vision on the integration of those open compute-based technologies?
So we definitely see that the adoption of OCP is growing. I think the initial, let's say, obstacle is the awareness of actually what OCP really is. So the OCP community, together with a lot of different OCP solution providers, they put a lot into the awareness so that the ecosystem can understand really what OCP is all about. And what we see is that the collaboration of all of these technology companies is providing a lot of potential value for the European market. It's typically easy for companies to adopt maybe a tier one OEM approach, because you will go particularly with a particular brand. You want to have that kind of reliability and basically go with something which you know will work. But the OCP community is really working on trying to make sure that there is a really strong interoperability between all of the parts, from the data center level through to the chip level, through to the server level, and to make sure that all of these solutions integrate well together.
Thank you. And how is OCP influencing and supporting this large growth of AI inside of Meta? I'm wondering.
So actually a great deal. So Meta is one of the founding members of OCP. And today, I would say our entire fleet that is basically run on open source or open compute hardware, that be it networking, be it storage, or be it compute. So a couple of years ago, when we trained Llama 2, which is also our open source models, we donated our server, the Grand Teton infrastructure, to the OCP community, which today is more like the workhorse for our AI compute. And we also support a plurality of AI accelerators, GPUs, different versions of CPUs, x86, ARM, but also internal accelerators, and open compute hardware that basically enable that ease of use and ease of plurality. So we are a big, big, big fan.
Great. So thank you so much, guys. Let me just change the tune a bit, actually. I devised this panel to have two sections. I think that we cover mostly the first section about discussing how OCP is impacting the market. But I want to focus right now on sovereignty and resilience. So I want to start, and I will start with Jason as let's say how CircleB is agglutinating and integrating those solutions. So maybe you can discuss a bit more about the role of CircleB in OCP, or the other way around, and what were the main challenges that you see in the market and your customers adopting OCP in Europe, understanding that we are enabling sovereignty and creating those cloud-based solutions here.
Okay. So we're essentially a system integrator. So the problem that we solve for our customers is all to do with the management of this OCP ecosystem. So in CircleB, we collaborate a lot with companies, for example, like STORDIS. We are talking with all the key manufacturers that are building all the solutions, from chips to servers to racks. Also having meaningful discussions with the data center, and we are trying to ensure that this integrated solution works for our customers. So typically, the kind of challenges that companies would have when they are adopting OCP is, first of all, okay, how do they find out, okay, what solutions there are? So the OCP community has a marketplace where there is a lot of solutions from all of these different building blocks, and we help to be able to integrate all of these together. So a customer problem that we might have when we want to deliver an OCP solution would be, okay, how can we house it? So the data center part of the equation is quite an important one. So OCP infrastructure is based on a 21-inch width rack. It has a bus bar design, which means that it has a central power distribution. And you need to be able to liaise with the data center to be able to accommodate that kind of infrastructure and make sure that it is it's properly contained. You have to look at challenges like, for example, when you're rolling full racks, which you typically would do in OCP, fully populated racks, to ensure that we have the right kind of floor load. And all of these kind of topics are typically the things that customers are wondering about how to be able to solve.
Okay, that's great. That's mostly on the facility that you're talking about.
Yep.
And now about facilities and mostly about sustainability. And I want to go back to Jeff about it, because when we understand Ampere, we understand really efficient computing. So how is Ampere supporting OCP and creating products around OCP, if you may?
Yeah, and you're right. Efficiency is really at the heart of it. I think if you take a step back really briefly and you just think about the challenges that the market's facing right now. So you have an incredibly diverse European service provider market. You have huge power challenges across the board, whether it's just for pure sustainability and green purposes, just availability of power, cost of power, and then you have this workload that's growing like crazy with AI inference spreading everywhere. So I think that OCP can be a key part of allowing service providers to build out that efficient infrastructure that they need in order to keep up with with the demand for AI. And what we've been doing within Ampere really has been using and working with the Open Compute project to make a lot of the foundational technology building blocks available. So starting back with our first series of processors with Ampere Ultra, we contributed back the Mount Jade platform, including all of the firmware, so that anyone can go and take the platform and adopt it and use it very, very easily. We did the same thing on our Ampere 1 processors. We contributed that spec back. And then we've been very active in things like the DCMHS and DCSCM working groups, which are really critical building blocks that will allow the ecosystem to take advantage of the collective work of the community, but also build out uniqueness where they need uniqueness. And so we've really embraced that, building out at HPM for our 12-channel platforms, 12 memory channel platforms, and really doing it all within Open Compute. So it's, I think, a really, really exciting time, and I think Open Compute plays a major role in establishing that big horizontal ecosystem for Europe.
It is great to understand how the example of Ampere, not only being integral part of OCP, but at the same time how they are integrating technology inside of the community and inside of the overall product roadmap inside of OCP, and that's a technology that you can actually integrate and use right now. Mm-hmm. We discussed about computing, and of course I want to go back to networking, which is the backbone of the infrastructure, thinking about it.
Absolutely. So, networking, maybe just taking that 1 to you from your rack, but if we are also talking about the growing bandwidth, the power consumption in those total lock solution is really a challenge, yeah? So what is happening in our industry, in the networking? So first of all, there is a lot of investment in next generation of type of the cooling, yeah? So everyone know the traditional L cooling, front to back to front, which is in fact even more challenging if we are speaking about the latest switch generation, like 64 times 800G. Slowly there will be 64 times 1.6 terabyte. Could you imagine? This is just a crazy. Those optics are consuming like a 30 watts, yeah? So the traditional cooling was the first, but if you will take a look on such as vendor like the EdgeCore networks, they're really leading in the liquid cooling. And here we have like two types of the cooling. Either you have a liquid cooling with so-called closed loop, so similar concept which we know from the PC market, yeah? You saw those fancy LED lighted cooling in your personal computes. Same, maybe without these LEDs, you can find with the switches. But there are also a solutions with so-called open pipe where you are connected to the entire rack. And the challenges for the redundancy are not any longer with the fans, extra one, but you need to have like a dual pipe, yeah, which will be quite funny to see our service guys slowly to getting more certification from the plumbing perspective. But this is what is happening, yeah. And the last is like immersion cooling. So there is of course an option to put that also hardware to the oil, to the tank, which is depends on the scenario, one of the most efficient if we wanted to really take every watt from those systems back.
That's great. That's amazing. So we discussed about the different parts of the infrastructure here. I want to step back at the moment, and I want to discuss about sovereignty and data security, mostly, with you guys. And this is an open question for all of you, but I want to start with Ola and his experience on operating large-scale OCP as part of Meta. So what are your insights about how we can enable, how open technologies are enabling sustainability, sovereignty, and data security?
That's a huge topic, Raúl.
Yes.
So as a starting point, I mean, we are our entire infrastructure that is based upon open source. So we use open models. That's Llama. We use open software, which is PyTorch or Triton, and we use open compute. And last year, when we trained Llama 3, that was trained on a 16K GPU cluster, we also published the entire recipe and the entire infrastructure behind that, so that anyone can actually go and replicate and build the infrastructure themselves, keep the data internally or at their cloud provider of choice. And I think this type of open approach that enable a couple of things. A, it improves the general resiliency of the entire ecosystem because there is more people that actually test and use the underlying infrastructure that benefits the entire market. And B, it also enable model innovation. And model innovation is also a means for reducing the total energy efficiency. And I often get questions about, hey, what about DeepSeek? Is DeepSeek a threat or what? But in fact, I mean, DeepSeek is an evidence that the open source model actually work, because DeepSeek wouldn't have happened unless they have actually built onto something that had already been open sourced. So I think back to your question, Raúl, I think the open source or open AI infrastructure, that's a benefit to Europe, and it's a benefit to the world.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. So how is Ampere in terms of data security? I think that when you take a look at OCP and the different projects, there's a strong focus on security with OCP Safe and OCP Log projects. Mm-hmm. So maybe Jeff, you can discuss more about how Ampere is enabling this as the cornerstone of data security and compliance in open solutions.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ola talked about kind of the openness and the AI front and the model front, and maybe I'll take a little bit of a different approach to the openness piece of it, where also openness at the foundational hardware level matters a lot. Not just in the designs, but I'll specifically call out DCSCM. So DCSCM hosts some of the most critical pieces of your infrastructure. You have firmware running there. You have trusted code that's running in there. That's code that you inherently trust within your infrastructure that may be very different from the application code that's untrusted that's running on the underlying server. So I think that's a big piece of this is having openness, being able to get the visibility into what's running in some of that most critical code. The embracing of things like OpenBMC, I think are really critically important there. The more open we make these things, the more secure they are. That means there's more eyes on them. There's no secrets there. So I think in all these cases, these big horizontal plays that allow for as much openness both in software and in hardware as possible are great for the overall industry. Less proprietary closed box solutions are critical, and I think that there's a number of key projects within OCP that help to support this and make it possible for everyone here, not just the select few, to take advantage of the openness that leads to resiliency and security.
So I wanted to go to Jason for a moment, but I think that Ola wants to do a remark in here. Sorry.
Just wanted to echo what you said there, Jeff, about OpenBMC and open management, because what we see when you scale these systems, the tooling, and the error that just balloons, right? I mean, when we trained Llama 3, we had an outage every 3 hours. That was with 16K cluster. When you scale to 100Ks, accelerated compute clusters, I mean, the error rate will be less than an hour. So having more like standardized open source tooling, open source, OpenBMC you mentioned, I think that is critical for the entire industry to learn and improve the effective training time of these systems.
Thank you for that, Ola. That's fine. So yeah, I want to go to Jason about the fully commercial and actually how the customers are valuing this sovereignty and data security coming from complete solutions with Circle B and with Taurus. So that's my open question for you, Jason. So maybe you can elaborate.
Okay, that's a big question. So I'll try to answer that as quickly as possible. I think the key thing here is about making sure that the sustainability part of open. So we were talked about, for example, Open BMC as a tool to be able to manage the firmware of servers. What you see is that it allows you to be able to extend the life cycle of servers because you have an open platform whereby you can contribute to the upkeep. So in terms of like having a typical server life cycle, which might be like say 3 to 5 years, you can extend that life cycle for longer. This contributes to more value for customers because you're able then to be able to extend your existing infrastructure. And Jeff also mentioned about DCMCS. There we're looking at how to be able to manage the interoperability and the sustainability at a chip level and at a motherboard level. So there, for example, if you need to be able to change the platform, rather than literally throwing away a complete server, you can then change various components and mix and match. So it's clear that going the open way, it will provide a lot of business value to customers, and particularly when you see the landscape in Europe for cloud service providers. I think it's important that cloud service providers adopt technologies which give them the ability to be able to compete in the wider global market.
That's amazing. So, guys, the last part of this panel was actually open to you. We wanted to reserve 5 minutes for audience questions and answer. So I'm not sure if any of you guys have some questions for us or for the panel that you want to do. Any raised questions? So go ahead. Do we have a mic for him, by the way, that we can use? Speak louder.
Speak loudly.
Yes?
Could deal with a possible movement of the EU towards a movement like buy more European products? How would you deal with this possible scenario?
Okay, anybody that wants to pick that up?
Well, I mean, I guess this is where having this broad ecosystem of open solutions, I think, really enables these types of sovereign solutions to be built, because the foundational building blocks can be easily adopted by many people. Again, moving away from closed vertical solutions that are really only the domain of one single customer, one single company, that those will have a difficult time being sovereign. So I think that making the foundational building blocks as open as possible and scalable as possible naturally leads to the ability to build sovereign solutions for Europe or for other geographies as well.
If I can add, there is even a special certification for the product under the OCP, call it OCP accepted or inspired. Yeah? So it means that for that first, the whole file are publicly available at the OCP. But going back more to your question, so my background is networking. I also used to working at EdgeCore Networks 7 years. It was already quite a long time ago. But taking a look what is happening on that geopolitical stage, yeah, this is the scene which is making us all a little bit nervous. I can see from my perspective that if there will be some extra, regulation which will force to have a country of origin of the Europe and so on, I have a feeling that it could be set up really quickly. I know that there are already some discussion in Romania and the other countries, where really that could happen quite fast. Yeah.
Okay, I think that we have time for another question.
There, on the.
It's over there. Okay.
Sure.
We are expanding heavily in Europe. We have 5 offices already. We'll double to 5 more. Pretty straightforward and simple approach would be to look at how do we manage. Each office would have about 50 users or so. So how do we embrace Open Compute project to do an in-house restructure of, let's say, network, you know? And we would like to have that set up in all of our new offices and expand. So the learning happens at home. This is what we would like to have. So what is your advice on that? How do we go forward with it?
So, thank you. You know, our focus is networking, and we are talking about networking. Maybe you are not referring to a heavily 800G switches which are on our stand, but open networking is today not only for the data centers. I can tell you that you will find an open switches with ONI with even 8-port PoE today, yeah, which is the beauty. And okay, it is something that we've been not able to see a couple of years back. But today, open networking is starting on really small designs, 8 switches, 8-port switches, PoE, non-PoE, multi-gig, of course going to those heavy data center stuff, yeah? And then on top, you can use Sonic. It's really extremely popular. Also speaking about the security, this is the way how you can control that security, yeah? No, maybe Sonic, that pure one from the community, could be not stable for every scenario, but there are also some enterprise distribution which will provide you like a full support with visible roadmap, and still 80–90% of that code will be that code which you will find on the GitHub, yeah? And where to find? Visit our website. There are virtual labs. You can play there. You can also get a training on the Sonic if you wanted to train your team. And yes, you know, I would say that you can start without any investment, because either you can play on the virtual environment on your own infrastructure, or just logging on a couple of hours to Hour 1 or to JSON and just play around.
So thank you, guys. Thank you, Łukasz, for the commercial plug in the end. That's great. So thank you all. I think that we are exhausted our time today. So thank you all for coming. If you want to know more about OCP, I will be around. I want to thank Łukasz. I want to thank Jason, Jeff, and Ola for coming and representing this talk. So a big round of applause for.
Thank you.